I'm a different leader than I was when I started 5 years ago. And I'm going to be a different leader this time next year because I am open to allowing God to change me, renew me, and transform my life. And I think that's the thing that every church leader should be like. What worked last year, that's not, don't put your stake down that that's what's going to work this year. Allow God to transform you. But the way he does that is by the renewing of your mind.
Hey friends, I have got some exciting things to talk to you about right now. First of all, Mike Todd was just over on my podcast, The Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey. It's episode number 425. To listen to it, you can listen to wherever you listen to podcasts. Just look for The Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey or go to jamieivey.com/HH425. Now, this is Mike's second time on The Happy Hour. And actually, we have another video here on YouTube. He was here last year and he talked about finding freedom from pornography. So go check that out. But on today's interview that we have a whole conversation over on the podcast about Crazy Faith, his new book. It comes out September 21st. It's so good. And he says all the time, it's only crazy until it happens. Well, today I asked Mike a little bit different conversation about his book. Is on the podcast, we were talking about his Sabbath and what that looked like. And then I said, how do you keep a healthy church culture? You lead a massive church. Like you have a lot of things you're doing. He's producing music. He's doing all these things. How do you keep your culture happy? And this is what he said. I love it so much. You know, speaking of Sabbath and how it has been so helpful for you as someone who creates and does so many things, you know, a lot of conversations that we're having right now publicly because of what Christianity Today has just released with Mike Cosper doing the Rise and Fall of Mars Hill. And what we're seeing in that conversation that he's having about a particular church is just some church unhealthiness. And listen, I go to a very large church. My husband's a pastor there. So this is not a large church, small church thing. This is a thing that can affect anyone. What are you doing as a pastor to help not only your congregation, but your staff, yourself, your family? What are you doing to keep a healthy church culture, especially with your staff?
Yeah. So one of the things that people have to understand is you can't bring a healthy culture to an organization that is not first started in the organism. And so many people try to corporately bring health when personally there is no health. And so I have been, the word of the year at Transformation Church this year is anchored. And we've been talking about not drifting and how do we anchor on the word of God, anchor on our health, anchor on our stewardship, anchor, like drop the anchor. So when winds of life blow and all the different things, like you're steady. And that's what we've been doing around Transformation Church. We have been looking at every sphere of our life, staff-wide, as well as personally, and getting anchored. So like right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm 30 pounds lighter than I was 3 months ago. Like, because I decided to anchor on my health and to be healthy and to do the things, drink water and no bread and all the other, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's a practical thing that a lot of people, would say, oh yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. But the discipline in one area translates into other areas. So my time with God, discipline, prayer, and all of the things. And this is what I want to tell everybody is it never starts out as a desires. Discipline turns to desire. And a lot of people want to have a feeling to do certain things and want the feeling to be right. And no. It's a discipline first, and it turns into desire. So even with our staff, we have paid time, what we call Wednesday withdrawals, that anybody on staff for an hour can literally come and somebody from the worship team just begins to play and worship. And you can stop whatever meeting you're doing. You can plan it around your day and you can come and just release to God. And it's a part of what we do. We encourage Sabbath every week, not a sabbatical, like a vacation sabbatical, but I take sabbatical every week, and everybody on our staff is encouraged and told, like, they have to tell us what day is your Sabbath. Like, what day can we not call or email or all those other things, because you need a rhythm where you unplug from whatever you're doing for God and you're just worshiping and resting with God. And I think those are things that we have tried to put in place, and I've tried to model it every year since I've become the lead pastor of Transformation Church. I have taken a a publicized sabbatical.
Mhm.
And I do it on purpose. Many pastors and leaders, they sneak away, but literally they sneak away. They like don't tell anybody. They can't let anybody know they're not going to be there because it might affect the giving or the all that. We trust God. It takes crazy faith to take a sabbatical. It takes as much faith as it takes you to build something to walk away from it. And I think that's the thing that God has really challenged me with on every year. Last year, when we did relationship goals around this time, it was the #1 New York Times bestseller. It was on the bestsellers list for 15 weeks. And then my sabbatical came up. And I knew that at the moment sabbatical came, I had to get off social media. I had to stop promoting my book, all of that. Here comes where the rubber meets the road.
Yep.
It's like, am I going to walk away from what the world would say, my publisher would say, everybody would say, you gotta do this. I pulled the plug. I went on sabbatical.
Yeah.
And God blessed what I did in health instead of me trying to keep up with culture's version of success. That's not who I'm trying to please. I'm trying to please God. And so in this time, with all of these stories and different things coming out, man, I just pray for all leaders, all church leaders. I pray for our team and our staff because nobody knows fully what they're doing. And I really believe there's another level of grace that has to come to how we lead, to leave space for people to allow God to change them. I'm a different leader than I was when I started 5 years ago. And I'm going to be a different leader this time next year because I am open to allowing God to change me, renew me, and transform my life. And I think that's the thing that every church leader should be. Like what worked last year, that's not, don't put your stake down that that's what's going to work this year. Allow God to transform you. But the way he does that is by the renewing of your mind. And so, yeah, I'm excited to be back in the saddle at Transformation Church and to bring the disciplines and the things God's anchored me on to our culture and our staff. And yeah, it's going to be a fun season.
I love it. I love that as a leader, you're saying, listen, we're going to trust God. We're going to anchor ourselves to his word, and we're going to trust him in taking our Sabbaths, and we're not going to run ourselves into the ground. All right, guys, there was a portion of the conversation. And in fact, you only see this on YouTube. You do not hear this conversation in the podcast, but go find the podcast so you can hear his conversation all about crazy faith. He tells some great stories. It's super encouraging. I want to go write down all of my things that I'm believing God for right now. We also talk about Sabbath and how important it is, but I really appreciate the conversation that we had today just for you about creating a healthy culture within himself, within his church, and what that looks like. You guys, thanks for watching today. If you have any thoughts or questions, you can leave them in the comments below.